Hi everyone, welcome to Soup Sunday. Today we're going to make a lasagna soup. This soup is really good for meal prep, really good to make the day before. I actually find the longer it sits, the better it tastes. So if you can even make it one day and then serve it the next, that would be good. Really good to split up and freeze. And really easy to make and really hearty. It's a whole meal all on its own. Just serve with some crusty bread and you're done. So we will need a pound of ground beef, which I have going in the pan with a little bit of olive oil. I'm just breaking it up here with my little mix and chop. This little tool is fantastic for that. I never use anything else but this to break up my meat. It works on, if you're making anything with sausages, it's great for that. It breaks up the sausage meat. It's good for any ground meat, really. Turkey, you can use it with chicken, whatever. You will need also a small carrot chopped, an onion, like a small onion or half a large onion chopped, and 1 to 2 stalks of celery, depending on how large they are. Mine was really big, so all I needed was 1. You will need some tomato sauce, just plain tomato sauce. I like to put oregano in mine. I love the flavor of oregano. Some Italian spice is always nice. Salt, pepper, a few sheets of your favorite lasagna noodles. We're gonna be breaking this up at the end and adding it to the soup. And then I use some flavored savory balsamic. I put dark balsamic in pretty much everything I make. I just find it adds so much richness and flavor, very subtly. If you don't have a savory balsamic, you can use just a plain balsamic, and you can also use a Worcestershire sauce. That'll work too. You can also spice this up. So I like to add a little bit of chili flake to mine. You absolutely don't have to do that. My husband does not love spice, so I tend to not add it. I just add a little bit of chili oil to mine when I'm serving it to myself. So here we go. So again, you're going to put a little bit of olive oil in your pan. I'm using the the Pampered Chef Dutch oven. You can kind of see it there. I love this. I use it for pretty much anything. It's very, very versatile. You can cook on the stove with it, and then you can go from the stove to the oven. So if I'm making something like a roast or a stew and I want to finish it in the oven, then I just put the lid on it, move it to the oven, and let it be for a few hours and you're done. You can also take this guy out to your barbecue. So oftentimes if I'm doing like a roast and I want to add some barbecue flavor or some smokiness or barbecue spice to it, we cook it on top of the barbecue, right on the grate. So yeah, it's great, and it's completely 100% dishwasher safe, so you can put it in your dishwasher after and you don't have to worry about cleaning it up. So the meat is starting to brown. You want to see a few little brown bits here and there. That's good. That's all flavor, so it's a good thing. Then we're going to add our onion, celery, and carrot, and you're going to mix that around a little bit. If we were making, basically you're making almost like a tomato sauce, right? That then we're going to turn into a soup. If you were making a pasta sauce, a tomato sauce, I would probably let this brown another 5 to 10 minutes, making sure that the carrots and the celery and the onion are also browning up a bit. But this is going to end up being soup anyway, so it's going to cook through and the flavor will be there anyways, right? Because we're gonna let it simmer for, half an hour to 45 minutes later anyways. So at this point you wanna add salt. I add quite a bit of salt because to this you would wanna add, instead of broth, water. That is what I normally will do, is add water to it. the tomato sauce basically is the broth, right? But if you do want to add a flavor to it, and I happen to have some homemade broth, I will add that to it. The reason I added quite a bit of salt is because my broth is homemade. I don't add salt to it while it's cooking so that I can add and control the amount of salt later in my recipe. Quite a bit of pepper. I like pepper in this. I like pepper in my lasagna a lot. This is when you want to add the spices because they're dry. So rule of thumb, if you're adding dry spices, you want to add them to the beginning of your cook. If you're adding fresh herbs, so if you're adding fresh oregano, fresh basil, fresh parsley, you want to add them to the very end. When everything's cooked, you add them in, then you serve. Okay? So all my spices are in there. Be generous with them, right? You don't want to, I mean, you want to taste them, right? You want it to taste like a lasagna. All right. At this point, you would put in 2 cloves of garlic, which I do not have. So I actually started my recipe with garlic olive oil, okay? But you will put in your 2 garlic cloves and stir that around, okay? All right, so all of that is good. Now we're gonna turn it into a soup. So you wanna add your tomato sauce right now. You don't have to mix it in right away. Okay, your tomato sauce is in there. You wanna add your balsamic vinegar. Again, I'm pretty generous with mine, but there's no rule there. Add a little bit or a lot. This one has a lot of savory flavor, so I'm adding quite a bit. It has like oregano and garlic and basil. Okay, now at this point, it will look like a really good pasta sauce, and it really is. If you are looking for a quick pasta sauce at this point, it's done. You can actually serve this with pasta or make lasagna with it or whatever you'd like. Okay, but we're gonna turn it into a soup. So we are going to add broth. I do not measure this. Add as much or as little as you'd like. You will see the thickness. Always keep in mind when you're making a soup that you will add pasta noodles to, the pasta will absorb some of the liquid and expand. So make sure you add enough liquid. If you want it thick and you think it's enough, add 1 more cup just to be safe. Okay, now you're gonna bring this up to a boil. You're gonna stir it, you're gonna bring it up to a boil, and then we're going to add our lasagna noodles. Okay, so our soup is now boiling. Lots of big bubbles in here. At this point, you wanna taste. Always taste as you go. Oh, it tastes delicious, but it does need a tiny bit more salt. So we'll add that right now. And you know what? I'm gonna add a little bit more pepper too. I like this peppery. Okay, stir that in. Now, here comes the noodle part of the lasagna, right? You're going to just take your sheet of, it doesn't have to be precise. Just crack them in, break them. However they break is just fine. They don't have to be strips. Woo! They will take off. Get that one. Mine are like the little rectangle sheets. I would say I will put in probably 4. If you have the ones that are longer, like you know with the ridges, maybe put in 5 or 6 just to be safe. So 1 more. Whoa, they're hard to break. Okay, and you're gonna stir that in. All right. Now, of course, it'll stop boiling for a little bit because you've added something else to it. So just bring it back up to a boil. Then you wanna put the lid on it. Let some steam escape. Just put your spoon off to the side so that your steam can escape a little bit. Okay, that'll thicken up your soup a little bit too. And that's it, you're done. You're gonna let this simmer for probably 10 or 15 minutes, not too long. Basically taste your pasta. When it's ready, it's ready. Having said that, You can simmer it up to 45 minutes if you want the flavors to meld a bit more. Just your noodles will fall apart a little bit more. It's fine, it'll thicken it up a bit more and you won't get like, you know, the big chunks of noodle. You'll get smaller ones, but that's okay too. So when it's all done, you're gonna taste it again, make sure salt, pepper, everything is fine. And then you're gonna serve it with some mozzarella cheese on top and possibly some Parmesan too. So that's it for now. When this is all done, I will come back and show you how to serve it up. So our soup is done now. The noodles are nice and tender and cooked. So I'm gonna show you how to serve this. So you're gonna put a little bit, see these noodles, I'm gonna show you here. I'm gonna move my phone and show you. See that? That's what you want. So I put a couple ladles fulls in my bowl, and then I take my vegetable peeler, which is another fantastic tool, and I make little ribbons of Parmesan cheese on top, like so. I mean, you can get really fancy with this. Serve it up at your next dinner party if we're ever allowed to have dinner party ever again. This would be a good soup to serve, right? For just some good friends. And then I have some shredded cheese. So normally you would use mozzarella for this because that's what you put on a lasagna, but I didn't have just any straight mozzarella. I had a mozzarella and cheddar mix. So that's what I'm using. And then just to finish it off, maybe just a little bit of Italian spice on top. And there you have it, lasagna soup. Again, really, really good for make-ahead meals. Really good to stick in the freezer for an evening you don't have time to cook or you don't feel like cooking. Great for the freezer. So give it a try. Let me know what you think of it. Post photos too. If you make it, take a photo, put it in the comments, put it on the group. I would love to see what you guys are up to cooking wise. So yeah, some feedback is always appreciated. Also, you know, feel free to get on the group page and let me know what you would like to see in the future, because I can probably make that happen for you. So thanks for joining me, and I really, really hope you enjoy this one. Have a good night, everyone.